ضيفة اليوم هي نور الهدى. أهلا وسهلا فيكي نور.
أهلا سارة، كيف؟
شو هو التواصل؟
That is the meaning of communication. It is a process and it's not an easy process. It is a very deep meaning. This attention span is lower than a goldfish's attention span. Actually, a goldfish can focus for 9 seconds, and now we can only focus on something for 8 seconds. Oh my God, it is so much worse for Gen Z.
أنت بمجال التدريب اليوم، هل هذا الشيء بيميزك عن باقي المدربين مجال التواصل؟
صرت مراقبة أكتر، إن كيف سامحة لحالك إنه تحكي بهيك موضوع. The discipline is what will make you consistent for sure.
أنت شخصياً هل بتحسي بأنه بحاجة لموتيفيشن أو تحفيز بشكل دائم أم لا؟
I remind myself of the purpose a lot.
ضيفتي بحلقة اليوم هي مدربة معتمدة وخبيرة تواصل ومحاضرة جامعية، بتعمل مع الأفراد على تحسين طرق التواصل بأفضل طريقة ممكنة، وبتشتغل على استمرارية حماسهم. انطلقت رسالتها من شغفها للتحدث أمام الجمهور، وهدف بيتمثل بإلغاء المفاهيم الخاطئة والصور النمطية اللي ممكن تكون لدى الأجانب حول خلفيتها كونها ربت بكندا. سمحت لها خلفيتها التعليمية بالإضافة إلى سنوات خبرتها العملية بمجال التواصل والتدريب والتعليم بمختلف الشركات والمؤسسات بكندا والولايات المتحدة الأمريكية ودبي، بأنها تنشئ محتوى قيم وتقدمه كمتحدث رئيسي ومدربة بنفس الوقت بالعديد من الشركات وبعدة أحداث أخرى. بالإضافة بأنه في متابعة أكثر من 500,000 شخص على جميع منصاتها للتواصل الاجتماعي واللي بتابعوها بسبب محتواها. ضيفة اليوم هي نور الهدى. أهلا وسهلا فيكي نور.
أهلا سارة، كيفك؟
I'm so happy إنك موجودة مع اليوم.
حبيبتي أنا أكتر، أنا أسعد.
أوكي، خلينا لكن ندخل بصلب الموضوع اليوم. مدربة التواصل communication، شو هو التواصل؟
أوكي، هلا التواصل أول شيء بداية إحنا we need it in so many different aspects of our lives. هذا أولاً. وأنا I always say this and I always will. The level of good communication that you have will determine your level of success in different areas of your life. وأنا I'm not just saying this out of thin air. يعني أنا عم بحكي هالشي من دراسات أثبتت، إذا بنبحث عنها موجودة. أولاً بالشركات in the contemporary job world, $64.2 million are lost per year because of poor communication.
Wow.
And those are studies proven that the number one skill required for entrepreneurs is good oral communication and good listening skills between the parent and the child. A parent's well-being, achievement, their health, overall health, goes back to the way that the parent communicates with the child. Divorce rates, 65%, the factor of divorce is bad communication. Only 35% is inability to resolve conflict. So, and so many more studies prove that communication, the success of it goes back to the success of our different areas in life. And it's not the Google search definition that we see on Google. It's not, receiving and giving of messages. It's not that shallow, the meaning of communication. It goes so much more in depth. And there's a story that I always share in all of my lectures. At the beginning of all of my talks and lectures, it's a very light story, but it actually gives the general idea of the meaning of communication. Let me share the story with you. So there's an old couple that wanted to go camping, and it was very important for the old lady to make sure the toilets are good. They're at the right place, they're not too far, they're clean, etc. So she wanted to write a letter to the camp owner asking about the toilets. And she's an elegant old lady, so she didn't know how to write the word toilet in the letter. She didn't want to write that. She wanted to be so elegant. So she was thinking back in, the old generation terms, and they used bathroom commode. So she didn't even come to write bathroom commode in her letter. Instead, she wrote B.C. Okay, she wrote B.C. How is the BC? Is it clean? Is it far? Tell me more about it. And the camp owner received the letter and was like, what is BC? And she kept asking around, what does this mean? What could BC mean? And then came to the conclusion that BC means Baptist Church. Okay? So he replied back to her letter. And I actually have to read to you what he replied, okay? So let me read to you
Please do.
what he replied back to her letter. Okay, this was his reply. Dear Madam, I regret very much the delay in answering your letter, but I now take pleasure in informing you that the BC is located 9 miles north of the campsite and is capable of seating 250 people at one time. I admit it is quite a distance away if you are in the habit of going regularly, but no doubt you will be pleased to know that a great number of people take their lunch and eat it there and make a great day of it. They usually arrive early and stay late. The last time my wife and I went was 6 years ago, and it was so crowded we had to stand up the whole time we were there. It may interest you to know that right now there is a dinner plan to raise money to buy more seats. They plan to hold the dinner in the middle of the BC, so everyone can watch and talk about this great event. I would like to say it pains me very much not to be able to go to the BC more regularly, but it is surely not of lack of desire on my part. As we grow older, it seems to be more and more of an effort, particularly in cold weather. If you decide to come down to the campground, perhaps I could go with you the first time you go, sit with you and introduce you to all the other folks. This really is a very friendly community.
Wow.
So, you know, he assumed what BC meant, and this is how he replied. So this is a very light story, but it symbolizes basically the meaning of communication. And it's not just receiving and giving of messages. The meaning of communication, when I learned it in university, when I majored in it, the way we learned it is the process of negotiating the meaning. So I have a perception in my head of what something means, and you have a perception or idea in your head of what something means. Mm-hmm. And together we negotiate the meaning to reach a conclusion, a healthy conclusion of what that meaning is, and to know what I expect from you and what you expect from me, and to understand that meaning better. That is the meaning of communication. It is a process, and it is not an easy process. It is a process with methods, with tactics, and we don't learn these methods. We don't learn them in schools growing up. We don't learn them in universities unless we major in them. And the thing is, we inherit them, and it's underestimated. It's underestimated that there are proper methods that we need to communicate. So it is a very deep meaning.
صح. يعني thank you so much على هالشرح، لأنه اليوم ممكن الواحد لما يفكر إنه مدرب التواصل أو بس فكرة تواصل بس بستخدمها بالبيئة العمل أو بprofessional life basically، مش إنه بالحياة العملية أو بالحياة العادية مع أفراد، مع أصدقاء، مع عائلة. ممكن يفكر فيها بأكتر شيء رسمي، بس اليوم مع الإكزامبل تبع اللتر بأنه قد ايه موقف بسيط بس صار فيها المس كوميونيكيشن. سو هو عم يحكي عن موضوع هي عم تسأل عن موضوع أساسا. وهذا يمكن اللي هلأ عم بذكرني ببعض المواقف اللي بتصير مع مدربين اليوم لما أحكي معهم. سو لما أقرأ رسالتهم أو لما أقرأ البيوغرافي طبعا على انستغرام، سو أنا بفهم بأنه أنت بتساعد بهالشيء. they're like لا أنا بساعد بهالمجال بهالطريقة. I'm like أوكي، لأنه هذا الشيء مش واضح. وين أنا بسميها بأنه ما يستخدموا كلمات شاعرية، يلي كلمات يعني في بقلبها انه يمكن ببالهم بانه بدي خلي الكلمه تكون فانسي او elegant مثل ما كانت هاي الامراه عم تحاول تعمل باللتر، بس لما يكون زياده عن اللزوم بطل تنفهم الفكره، وهون بيصير المسكوميونيكيشن بانه بيتواصل مع هالشخص بيست على شيء بس طلع هو شيء مختلف. سو الشخص كيف يمكن استخدم كلماته او كيف حتى يوصل فكرته ما كان صحيحه، بالتالي ادى لسوء التفاهم.
Exactly. بالضبط.
بتحس اليوم بأن التواصل الاجتماعي بتأثر على طرق التواصل بين الأشخاص؟ صارت مختلفة؟ أثرت على سلوكياتها من ناحية التواصل؟
طبعا أكيد 100%. أول شيء بداية إحنا التركيز عنا الاتنشن سبان. طبعا أنا بعتذر إنه بحكي عربي بإنجلش مع بعض لأنه أنا بشرح أكتر بالإنجلش فأم سوري. بس أول شيء الاتنشن سبان عنا بخف كتير من سنة 2000. مايكروسوفت states a study states إنه إحنا كان الاتنشن سبان عنا 12 ثانية وأقل من 12 ثانية ل 8 seconds. فاكتشفوا كمان الساينتست إنه this attention span is lower than a goldfish's attention span. Actually, a goldfish can focus for 9 seconds, and now we can only focus on something for 8 seconds. So this decrease of attention span obviously made us worse listeners. We don't listen as much because if something is not fast and quick and interesting, we right away lose the attention because of the instant gratification that we get from social media, which made us used to something being very fast. And that obviously decreased our expressing. We don't express as much because if I'm not being listened to, why would I express my emotions? Why would I be vulnerable? Why would I say things to someone if I know they're not going to listen to me, you know, the way that I need to be listened to? And for Gen Z, oh my God, it is so much worse for Gen Z. I have 2 brothers right now who are younger than me who are Gen Z. And at our, you know, millennials at our time, we can express the emotion with an emoji. And it was since our time. We don't even have to say the emotion anymore. We just send an emoji and we are expected that this, you know, emoji will, you know, deliver how I feel.
So.
For Gen Z now, they talk to each other like how they type comments, like exactly. So let me give you some examples. So مثلا أنا when I talk to my brothers, this is how they talk to me. So for example, cap. Okay, no cap. Do you know what no cap means? Like, when did no cap or cap mean I'm lying or you're lying or this is... Instead of saying you're not being honest, they say cap or I'm being honest, no cap. Like, you even look in the comments and you'll see like emojis of caps.
Yeah.
And it's like, and they use it. And this is their slang. I just hope they don't use it when they're a little bit older. But also, like, for example, if they want to say... I agree with what you're saying, or this makes sense, they say stan. Or like, for example, if I like something or something is really good, I think it's great. They don't say, I think this is great. They say slaps. Like they have
new terms.
Like new terms, which they're now using to compress the sentences or phrases that we use to express in just like 3 or 4 letters. And this obviously decreased the experience and decreased the effort that we put. So the effort that is put into communicating and phrasing and sentencing is a lot less now. So because of that, the experience is less, and because of that, face-to-face communication has been affected.
صح.
For sure.
تعرفي بأكد على هذا الشيء especially من خلال الإيميلز اللي بيوصلوا لي. I can tell إذا هذا الشخص إذا كان millennial أو كبير بالعمر أو too young. لما يوصل الإيميل إن كان subject title بيكون يا أما مش موجود، أو إذا موجود بس بيكون كأنه عم بيكتب كومنت. and حتى طريقة الإيميل لما تجي أو طريقة المسج لما تجي
really?
كأنه كومنت. so هون it's like ما كنت أخذ بعين الاعتبار بالأول. أنا like إنه هالشخص بيعرف يكتب إيميل that's it. هلا كنت فكره. بعدين لحتى لاحظت like كل شخص عم يبعت هذا الإيميل من جيل جديد يلي أنا هون حست حالي like oh my god هلا صرت كبيرة إنه بحكي غير لغة كأنه عنهم.
أنا بس أحكي مع أختي إنه oh my god I'm so old.
يعني حتى الأسلوب انه تغير. يعني ما في let's say email لما واحد يبعت ايميل فيه شوي يعني formality، ما عم نقول like technical words او تكون كلمات معقده، بس at least وصل الفكره. بس اليوم it's like حتى طريقه الايميل لو حتى على الموبايل you're sending the email بس كأنه text message عم بيبعت وكله مختصر without like hello without لمين عم يكتب without حتى الكلمات الصح أو يمكن القواعد لا بالعربي ولا بالإنجليش. so هون لاحظت like I think في يعني بالأول كنت فكرها بأنه الشخص يمكن مسرع أو الشخص يمكن ما عود يكتب إيميل، بس صارت الأمور لما واحد يشوف سوشيال ميديا والكومنتس وحتى الدي أمز على السوشيال ميديا صارت كلها نفس الشيء، بأنه ما في proper communication. يعني بطل واحد يفسر أو
مختصر.
كله صار مختصر. وهذا الشيء اللي اليوم إنه إذا كل شيء كان مختصر، وبحس بأنه بيأثر مش بس على اللغة الكوميونيكيشن، بس إذا كان شغل مختصر، إذا كان حكي مختصر، إذا كان كل my actions مختصرين، ليه عم بختصر for what at the end بالزبط. يعني ولما نختصر دايما في يعني أنا لاحظت إنه الواحد لما يختصر شيء so إذا the idea is miscommunicated
أكيد
بصير في لخبطة، so رجع عيد الشغلة مرة تانية. just like ما اختصرت طويل الوقت عم برجع بعيد الشغلة مرة تانية.
أكيد. طبعا دائما الاختصار بسبب miscommunication، لأنه حيكون في missing pieces that I didn't hear that I need to hear that I need to know to understand. definitely.
نور عندي سؤال لك اليوم. بلاحظوا هذا الشيء عندك على السوشيال ميديا
أكيد.
يعني اليوم أنت محتواك على التواصل الاجتماعي صح، بتحكي كوميونيكيشن حتى بتشاركي أشياء لك من حياتك أنت، بس أوقات بتجيبي مثلا مواضيع لها علاقة أو بتنربط بالدين إن كان كأحاديث أو كآيات. هل هذا الشيء له علاقة بأنت لما تدربي بالتواصل هل ممكن تعتمدي مثلا أو تكون inspired أو influence أو له تأثير من الدين إلى طرق التواصل مع الآخرين، إذا كان من الكلام أو طرق بنعرف نحن الدين بعلمنا إن كان أخلاق أو إن كان طرق التواصل مع الآخرين، فهل هذا الشيء له علاقة بتدريبك بالمجال التواصل؟
شوف أول شيء أنا مبسوطة إنك سألتيني هالسؤال لأنه I've been misunderstood with my use of religion as a reference in my videos. I've been categorized يعني إنه my whole or main purpose is to preach religion, where actually my aim purpose or my main goal is to just pass on the message that it's for everyone. Anyone can use the inspiring stories that we love, that we hear, that can teach us from the religion. So that's why I use it alongside with the scientific and educational references as an inspiring reference in my videos. And of course, I definitely still use it in my coaching as well as a reference, because in every single aspect in our life, you will find a reference in religion to support it. And I actually, when I teach a theory or a method and I find a reference or a story or a hadith or a verse in the Quran that supports that method, I actually believe it more and I get attached to it more when I teach it. So مثلا, for example, if there's a method called the Socratic method in teaching, and that is when you reply to the question of the person that's asking with a question. So that actually stimulates more thought. Again, goes back to the meaning of communication. It negotiates the meaning. It makes them answer questions that they need to be answering themselves or asking themselves. So this is a famous teaching method. And if you look back in the history of the Prophet, peace be upon him, he used that method so much. So مثلا, there was a woman that came to him, that came to the Prophet, peace be upon him, and told him, I want your permission to commit adultery, to commit zina with a woman. So the Prophet replied to him exactly like this. Would you like me if I gave that permission, that same permission, to a man to do this with your sister or your mother or your daughter? So the man said, no, I wouldn't. So the Prophet said, there's your answer. So the Prophet could have, peace be upon him, could have easily replied saying, no, that's wrong. Or why would you ask that? Or absolutely not. Or I won't give you permission. But always his answer was in a way that Socratic method of replying back with a question that makes the person hear the answer they need to hear, negotiate the meaning with them. And I see that method so much actually in his teaching and his hadith. And actually I use these references more for me. Like it makes me a proud Muslim to see how beautiful our religion is, how much it includes moral ethics and the way that it teaches us different things in our life. And I feel like a proud Muslim when I do it. So first and foremost, I do it for me, and I do it to also inspire hopefully someone that listens to these stories and think that, okay, there's more to my religion. There's more than just the rituals that I hear all the time. There's more depth and meaning in it that could teach me so much in life.
صح. ما بتحس ليه سألت هذا السؤال؟ because بحس بأنه يمكن الناس تبعد بأنه تدريب أو مثلا something as a profession ليه عم تدخل أمور الدين. and that's why like sometimes بعض الناس ممكن تفهم رسالتك غلط. بتفكر بأنه مين فكر حالك عم تحكي عن الموضوع أو مين سمح لك تكوني بهالموقف. بينما لما نربط الأشياء خلينا نقول الأشياء العملية أو اليومية بحياتنا to resources to مصادر موجودة من زمان aka like إن كان الأحاديث أو إن كان آيات من القرآن، منحس بأنه قديش في هيدا النوع من العلم خلينا نقول كان تدريب أو غيره. يعني اليوم لما نحكي إن كان بالتواصل، إن كان بالصحة، إن كان باللايف ستايل بشكل عام موجود من زمان، بس كيف الأبحاث يلي إن كانت هي أكتر خلينا نقول بروف أقوى، خلينا نقول بأنه لا هذا البحث صار هيك. طب ما هذا الشيء كان موجود من قبل، بس it's just the way كيف كان communicated يلي أنا بحس بأنه بعض الأشخاص قلت من بداية المقابلة بأنه في أوقات إيش نحن ورثناها إن كان هيك تربينا أو هيك سمعناها. so بحس maybe في أفكار من الدين were miscommunicated مع أنه هي موجودة وبتساعدنا بحياتنا اليومية. صح. بس بعض الأشخاص تتجاهلها وبتفضل تروح على جهة علمية أو جهة this is scientific أكتر. بس ما بتحسي هذا الشيء بأنه ممكن يخلي بأنه أنت بمجال التدريب اليوم هل هذا الشيء بيميزك عن باقي المدربين مجال التواصل، أو يمكن نقول إنه لا she's just taking advantage من هذا الموضوع؟
شوفي هلا هو 100% I was categorized وبمطرح معين صار علي judgment أكتر وحكم أكتر، لأنه صرت مراقبة أكتر. إنه بما إنه أنت عم تستخدمي موضوع مثل الدين، موضوع كتير كبير references، معناته أنت لازم تنحطي بكاتيجوري معين، لازم أنت ما تغلطي، لازم أنت تكوني perfect، لازم يكون عندك كتير معلومات. whereas if you really think about it، أي بني آدم في العالم ممكن مش يحكي مثلا شرائع، مش يحكي لازم وما لازم تعمل ولازم تسوي، مش هيك. أي بني آدم بالعالم متاح له الدين إنه يستخدمه يقرأ ويتعلم عن جمالياته. هاي هي الفكرة اللي جديدة على العالم، اللي مش متعودين إحنا عليها أصلاً. وأنا ممكن أفهمهم إلى حد ما، لأنه أنا برضو ما كنت شايفة هيك شيء من قبل يعني. I'm new to me at one point. كنت يعني لما بديت أنا I was questioning طب am I doing right or wrong? But if you really dissect it and think about it, I'm doing something that anyone could do. Even a non-Muslim could look into the beautiful stories and inspiring verses and use them literally. So I was definitely pressured. At one point صرت أتساءل. But what kept me going is seeing that people did get inspired, and that I'm not causing any harm. And بالعكس, when you include such a great foundation like this and references from it, you're actually adding on to your content. You're not taking away from it. So I guess that's why I'm still doing it.
من شوي قلتي بأنه الناس بتفكر بأنه لازم تكوني have to be perfect ما تعملي أغلاط. قد ايه هيدا البريشر، قد ايه هذا الضغط بيكون على اليوم الكونتنت كرييتر بشكل عام، بانه انا بدي احط بيس اوف كونتنت سبيشلي عم بحكي شيء علمي، ان كان بالتدريب او ان كان بالبزنس او باي مجال، بحس بهالضغط بانه كل كلمه انا رح اقولها اليوم على السوشيال ميديا كل شخص رح يكون عم بحللها على طريقته.
صح.
بتحط هذا الشيء ببالي كل ما تعملي كونتنت، بتحط ببالي بانه كيف بدي how I'm communicating this idea تلعب دور بانه كيف يفهمني غلط او يفهمني صح بكل ما تعملي كونتنت.
Listen, أي content creator رح ينحط أو رح يحط حاله تحت الضوء لازم يكون عارف واعي إنه I will be criticized. Not everyone will love what I do. Not everyone will accept who I am. Not everyone will accept what I do. There will always be comments. طبعا if I want to please everyone, that's an impossible goal to achieve, right? So I always say this: the personality of the content creator has to be strong enough to handle criticism, and has to be strong enough to overlook criticism that's not necessary. It has to be built in. They have to train themselves to be that way. Otherwise, it will be very difficult for them. They will be always negatively affected. It will affect their well-being. It will affect their everyday life. It will decrease from their self-esteem. And so that has to be a built-in, because whether we like it or not, we will be pressurized. We will be judged. You're putting yourself out there for everyone. So whether or not I get affected now, I've trained myself. I've trained myself that first of all, I look, or whether or not it's constructive. If it's not constructive, I overlook it. Second, who is the person that's actually giving me this criticism? I understand the fact that they come from a background in a certain way. They are, ignorant in some areas and educated maybe in other areas. So I've trained myself to believe that I have to have that strength of overcoming these negative comments.
لأنه هذا الشيء اللي نقطة رقم واحد اليوم لما أقول أشخاص بدنا نشجع حالك تكون على السوشيال ميديا بهدف إنه أنت عم تطلع تحكي بخبرتك بمعلوماتك، يعني content with a purpose، في له هدف لمحتوى. أول نقطة بفكروا فيها قبل ما إنه شو المعلومات بدي أحكي عنها، شو رح يقولوا غيري عني، أو إذا سمعوني طب بركي شكوا بمعلوماتي، أو بركي قالوا عني شيء منه منيح، أو إجا كومنت نيجاتيف.
بالضبط.
شو حابة أعرف منك إذا تتذكري شيء هلأ أنت ببالك، يعني تتذكري شيء كومنت كان إنه يمكن أول كومنت حصلت عليه إنه كان مأذي أو ما له لزوم basically.
Honestly, أنا بيوصلني كتير كومنتات مأذية, like I told you, because I was categorized because of my youth in religion. So again, the judgment on me is more than the normal. يعني أكتر شوي من الطبيعي من العادي. يعني أكتر الكومنتس اللي بتوصلني إنه كيف سامحة لحالك إنه تحكي بهيك موضوع وأنتي مثلا مش عم تعملي هيك وهيك وأنتي مش. My comment on that is these people were suppressed for so long that with all the insecurities that they have, and they found a gateway to let their hate out somehow behind a screen. But whereas طبعا إذا بتحطيهم face to face, they wouldn't dare say half of the things they say. So it all goes back to لما واحد يسمح لحاله to hurt someone, it goes back to how much they're damaged. صح? So I actually pity these people to an extent. يعني if you're going to give yourself the right to hurt someone this much, you must be so damaged from the inside. You have so much insecurities, so much trauma that this is your gateway. This is your only way to let that pain out. So for me, I feel sorry for them. Whereas there are people who know the right ways to give that constructive criticism. They send a nice message explaining their opinion. Of course, I don't mind that. But those who think that it's okay to give an opinion in such a harsh, demeaning, rude way, these are damaged people for sure.
غير الموضوع شوي to make it more خلينا نقول positive. من ناحية الموتيفيشن أو التحفيز، قد إيه اليوم تعتقد التحفيز الإنسان عن جد بحاجة له؟ it's something that بس بنسمع على السوشيال ميديا بس لحتى مثل نقول to pump it up أو pump up the people بأنه هلأ تحفز for like 5 minutes بعدين خلص it's dead. How important is it?
Okay, so there's a quote that says motivation is doing what needs to be done when you want to do it, and discipline is doing what needs to be done even if you don't want to do it. So we all start with motivation. The start is motivation, but we keep going because of discipline. يعني what gets us up to go to the gym, what gets us up to pray our 5 prayers, what gets us up to stick to our schedule. We're not always motivated. No one is always motivated 100% of the time. But the discipline is what will make you consistent for sure. So motivation is where we start and discipline is where we keep going. That's what I truly believe.
وهذا الشيء اللي بحكيه especially اليوم كرواد أعمال ببلشوا دائما فكرتهم فكرة البزنس بموتيفيشن، متحمسين يس I have the motivation بدي بلش هالبزنس، بعدين يمكن بعد شهر شهرين أو يمكن 6 أشهر هالموتيفيشن بيروح وبصير يحسوا بأنه لك ما رح كفي أو ما بدي كفي أو خلاص تعبت أو خلينا أجلها. So هون الموضوع اللي بيجي بأنه does that mean الموتيفيشن خلص ما بقى في منه أمل أم is it that هو الشخص قديه بالفعل بحاجة لهيدا النتيجة أو هيدا الهدف قديه هو بده إياه لحتى يكون عمال يكون عنده هالديسيبلين. يعني هون الشغلة بأنه ملش موتيفيشن بس شو اللي بخليه يكون عندنا الديسيبلين اللي بيجبرنا نعمل هالخطوات؟
أول شيء هو الديسيبلين بيجي بعد جهد بعد مجهود. أنت يعني you have to train yourself to become a disciplined human being, right? There are different ways. Like إحدى أهداف صلاتنا 5 times a day is to actually build discipline. But from about what you're saying, actually discipline and motivation and discipline reinforce each other. So when you're motivated to do something, okay, when you feel like doing something, you take the action, which is by being disciplined, and so you feel good about what you're doing. Yani you have more dopamine and happy enzymes. So when you feel good about what you're doing, it's like a snowball effect. You keep going. So they do reinforce each other, motivation and discipline. But the actions that you take in your everyday life, that's a training. We actually have to train ourselves to be disciplined people.
وهل بتلاقي في حدا بيقدر يساعدنا لحتى ندرب على هالشيء أم الشخص بيجي من حاله لازم يدرب على هذا الشيء؟
So if we actually look deep into the meaning of motivation, it's the reason why. Why are we doing something? That's what motivation is. The purpose, the sole purpose of it, the motivation that comes from within. So I don't believe someone can motivate you. I believe someone can remind you of your capabilities. Someone can remind you if they know you so well and they're so close to you. They can remind you of that reason why that made you start in the first place, therefore leading you to motivate yourself once again. But for someone to motivate you, that's in the moment, that's temporary. But a close person can definitely remind you of the sole purpose and the capabilities that you have.
صح. وبأكد على هذا الشيء إنه أحيانا توصلنا رسائل إنه سارة فيك بليز كل يوم تتواصلي معي أو لحتى تشجعيني لحتى أوصل أو أنا مستمرة بعملي. أنا جواب بيكون بأنه I can do that أو أي شخص فيه يعمل هذا الشيء بس until when. يعني قد ايه فيني كل يوم بعت لك مسج hey you can do it yes اليوم يومك حلو اليوم انت عندك طاقه اليوم
خلص they're gonna get bored انه بعدين طيب
قد ايه رح ضل بعت لك 100 مسج 200 مسج قد ايه اذا هو الشخص عن جد ما عنده هيدي الرغبه لحتى يوصل لها لو حتى 100 شخص كل يوم عم بيشجعك ويزقف لك كل يوم قدام باب البيت you won't get there because بالنهايه بتجي منك انت
أكيد.
وهون لحتى اوصل على نقطه التدريب اليوم انت لما تدربي بمجالك بالكوميونيكيشن على مين الافورت بتكون انت كمدربه ام هو الشخص ام is it equal 50% ليوصل للنتيجه؟
I definitely believe it's a 50-50 ratio. لأنه الكلاينت ما يعني لحتى المدرب يشرح اللي عنده الكلاينت بده يسمع. للمدرب يعطي things to imply الكلاينت بده يطبق. So it is definitely a 50-50. بس الانتنشن البداية يعني in سورة الرعد Allah says Allah does not change with Allah does not change a people until they change what is within themselves, right? So they have to come with the intention of wanting that change. That intention is so important. So that's a part of their 50. And sometimes there are cases where they come forced. There are cases. But if they cannot continue to be forced, so maybe someone forced them, someone pushed them, but even after hearing the changes that can change their life, they continue to be forced, there will never be a change. That force needs to change into their being their will, their own will of wanting that change. So for sure it is a 50-50, because as much as the coach tries to help, the implying is their part. You know, making that change happen is their part.
Yeah. أنت شخصيا هل بتحسي بأنه بحاجة لموتيفيشن أو تحفيز بشكل دائم أم لا you can do like motivation بيجي من حالك and that's it?
Honestly, for me personally, بذكر حالي بالreason, بالpurpose كتير. I remind myself of the purpose a lot. I'm training myself to be more disciplined, but I am like everyone. I need to remind myself, for sure. And sometimes I actually pick up the phone and ask a friend, you know, and tell a friend, why did I do this? Remind me, please. So sometimes you need to hear it from someone.
Yeah. كلنا بنوقع بهذا الشيء بأنه especially لما يكون واحد تعبان أو صار له فترة عم بيشتغل بيكون let's say غرقان بكل لك هالشغل and details and like بصير كل الأفكار عم تبرم بباله. بس هذا الشيء طبيعي يصير معنا، والسبب اللي سألتك هذا الشيء because ممكن اليوم اللي عم بيسمعونا أو عم بتابعونا يفكروا بأنه إنه في people يكونوا perfect أو لا ما بحاجة لموتيفيشن مع إنه كلنا بشر، كلنا دسم، كلنا في أوقات بنتعب، بنزهق، بنحس بأنه بدي أخذ بريك، شيء طبيعي، كلنا بشر we have to take a break نريح بالنا بس بنرجع. و I think هون اللي بيجي السؤال اللي قلت إنه شو البيربس، قد إيه كان بيكون البيربس قوي اللي بخلينا بأنه I'm gonna come back، خليني بس ارتاح كم ساعة أو يوم أو يومين take a vacation whatever، بس رح أرجع بدل ما إنه خلص I'm gonna let it go و like this is not for me ويأس من الموضوع. يلي هذا الشيء بسمعه أو بشوفه بالأحرى بحياة رواد الأعمال بأنه اليوم ببلشوا مشروع بس دغري they give up، بدهم كل شيء على السريع ولأن they give up بتصير خلاص ما لقلي أو ما بينجح أو ما بيزبط، ما عندهم هالصبر بأنه to be consistent لحتى يكونوا عم بيقدروا يوصلوا وبفكروا بأنه الناس تاني أو هذا الشخص أحسن مني أو أفضل مني أو أنا ما عندي الموتيفيشن أو أنا ما عندي الديسيبلين ومستحيل يكون عندي الديسيبلين. So the point is سألتك السؤال is for them to see بأنه كلنا لو شو ما فكرتوا بأنه إن كان entrepreneurs ولا big business people ولا content creators ولا مين ما كان يكون كلنا بنشبه بعض at some point. كلنا بدأنا، أنت لما أول ما بديت I'm sure يمكن بالأول واحد إنه بيسأل حاله بلش على السوشيال ميديا ما بلش على السوشيال ميديا، بحط الكونتنت تبعي should I start خلص بوقف بعدين let's see how it is. كان في هاللحظات تردد بس البيربس اللي هو اللي بودينا للخطوة اللي بعدها واللي بعدها.
بالضبط exactly I agree.
كل مرة بسأل هالضيف هذا السؤال هيك بعرف إنه مين اللي نصحه أو يمكن في نصيحة علقت ببالنا. شو أفضل نصيحة اللي هلأ تلقيتيها؟
Oh, so many. في كتير نصائح, so much advice we receive in our life and it sticks to us. بس فيني أحكي لك يعني مؤخرا like something I heard that it wasn't advice, it was something that made me realize it's very powerful, and I already apply it in my life. So me and my husband surf, we're like wake surf, okay, and he's a surfing coach. So there was one day the water was choppy, so a lot of waves. Mm-hmm. So it's actually harder to wake surf when there's a lot of waves. So he wanted to surf, and I'm like, I'll skip today. There's a lot of waves, and I don't feel like, you know. So he just threw the quote, and he was like, if you can't stop the wave, learn how to surf. And then I was like, oh, okay. So it's a famous quote, mm-hmm. but when you apply that to your daily life, it's so true. The wave represents our daily challenges and yes. our obstacles, and learning how to surf is how you tackle them. So you either can be defeated, You either can just fall back, you can just go with, you know, the flow that is your life is taking you, or you can learn how to defeat or tackle those obstacles and changes by moving forward. So like even in the Quran, so in Surah Maryam, when Maryam was giving birth to Isa alayhi salam, the angel told her in one of the verses that Allah has now brought water from under you. The second verse after that, Allah tells her, وَهُزِّي إِلَيْكِ بِزْعِ النَّخْلَةِ تُسَاقِطْ عَلَيْكِ رُطَبًا جَنِيًّا. So shake the palm tree, and a palm will fall, you know, dates will fall upon you. So just like how Allah has brought the water from under her, He could have easily just dropped the dates, right? But instead He wanted her to feel in control, to feel that we learn from this story that she needed to feel in control, like she's tackling the situation, she's in it. And so that's the action that was required from her to take in that calamity that she was going through. And that implies to all the obstacles and challenges we go in our life. You choose to tackle them, or you choose to be defeated by them. You choose to be in control of them, or you choose to be defeated.
صح.
Yeah. So
وهي
like
الشيء يلي اليوم لما I don't know maybe له علاقة شيء بعصر السرعة، بأنه أوقات الأشخاص لما تشوف مشكلة يا أما most of the response يمكن اللي عم بسمعها is like ماني مضطرة بقى to deal with this problem, like خلص forget it. like ووقفي will to face that problem. طب ما إنه إذا أنت ما حليتها you're gonna maybe أنت حتنسيها، بس هي ما عادة موجودة like ببالك، بس you just buried it ببالك and it's gonna come up again بعد شهر أو شهرين. especially إذا كانت هالمشكلة let's say it's a step you have to take بس you decide to skip it بس بعدين it's gonna appear again. so it's like ليه بتواجهها هلا؟ it's like صار هلا شغلة الخوف it's like إذا بخاف من شيء خلص بتردد. وهذا الشيء اللي أنا واجهته. it's like إذا شيء بخاف منه I'll just بهرب منه. بس لاحظت بأنه الهروب ما عم بفيدني. it's like عم بيرجع لي مرة تانية وثالثة.
it's not going anywhere.
it's not gonna go anywhere. it just gets worse. like oh my god يا ريتني لو حليتها من قبل، يا ريتني لو حليت هالمشكلة، يا ريت لو عالجتها ما كانت كبرت هالقد. وهي بيعتمد على أي شيء، إن كان بزنس، إن كان صحة، إن كان علاقات، إن كان work، إن كان money، إن كان anything. يعني اليوم إذا صار في مشكلة يس حلها. هل is it easy؟ بس لو ما كان ما بنسميها مشكلة، لو كان شيء سهل ما كان نعتبرها مشكلة. بس ليش ما بنقلب الفكرة؟ هون اللي بجرب وصل الفكرة، ليه ما بنقلبها بدل هالمشكلة. هاي قريته بكتاب من فترة، لما يكون واحد بمشكلة وفي لك كل هالضجة حواليه ما عم بعرف كيف بدي حلها. it's because واحد عم بيطلع على عم بتفكر بالماضي شو صار لحتى وصلني للمشكلة، عم تفكر بالفيوتشر بأنه oh my god أنا I'm panicking هلأ شو حيصير بالمستقبل. بس هو المفروض أعمله هلأ بالحاضر what can I do to fix this problem. بدل ما اتذكر وكنت أقول يا ريتني هالمشكلة ما صارت، يا ريت I prevented it of happening، أو هالمشكلة إذا بقيت رح تكبر أو تصير هيك بالفيوتشر. so like ما عم بركز هلأ على الحاضر how can I solve it now. so لما الواحد يحط بحاله it's hard by the way بأنه الواحد بأنه you know what خلص رح واجه المشكلة and it's scary بس I have to. وإلا we could have just like let go of everything. إن كان money problems أو business problems, relationship problems يلي اليوم if we ignore them it's gonna accumulate more and more.
أكيد.
طب هلا what's the worst advice؟ أسوأ نصيحة يمكن سمعتيها بكل حياتك؟
Yeah. I have one, and this one is everyone hears it all the time. Just let it go. How horrible is never be the friend or the sister or the brother or the husband or the father or the mother that says just let it go.
Oh, just relax.
Or just relax. Like the whole point of them coming to you I keep hitting the mic, of them coming to you to express or complain is a part of the process. It's a process to move on, to let something go. It's a part of the process, the reason they're coming to you. So you saying just let it go is actually a way of dismissing their pain. You're blocking them. You're actually hindering the process. So let them talk, let them complain, let them not let it go. And even at the end of that process, if they're not ready to let it go, that's fine. Maybe they're not ready yet, or just be positive. The most successful people in the world are not just positive. They're a mix of negative and positive. True. The people who are always positive actually beat themselves up when they have negative thoughts. That's unrealistic. As human beings, we need to learn from our trial and error. We need to analyze. We need to think critically. So it's okay to be negative sometimes. You know, just never say just let it go to anyone. Just
هلا بنهاية الحلقة قبل ما نختم شو هي إلي أنت نصيحتك لليوم اللي عم بيسمعونا أو عم بيشاهدونا؟
Okay. نصيحتي.
In communication.
In communication. Actually, yes. Something that helped me when I learned it in the world of communication. I'm just going to simply say it. When you talk to someone, always listen, even if they have less experience than you, they are younger than you, they are in a place that's much lower status than you. Always listen like they know something you don't know. Always. Like, listen in a way that they know something that you have no clue about. And you will always really listen.
That's hard.
Yeah.
I know that I can see that's hard. لأنه في شيء بلاحظه ببعض الأشخاص اللي التقيت فيه أنا شخصياً, so not generalizing على الكل, بأنه إذا هو كان ب certain level مرحلة معينة بحياته, whether بمجاله بشغله أو whatever, بصير as if like he acts أنا بعرف كل شيء. It's like, okay, عم بسمعلك, but just for me, it's like to pass time. Like عم بسمعلك بس I don't care ببالي. It's like I still have my idea or my thought. It's like بعدني أنا أحسن منك أو أذكى منك. So what you said is actually a very hard advice لمعظم الناس حتى, but especially listening. لما لاحظ اليوم الأشخاص ما بتسمع أو بتسمع بس ما بتستمع للشخص شو اللي عم بيقوله, and based on that عم بيصير miscommunication.
And again, it's a part of the training of the communication process as well, is how to actually listen. And maybe I can convince people more when I say this reference. So حتى بالقرآن ربنا أمر الرسول وشاورهم بالأمر. So there was a mistake that the companions made, and even after they made that mistake in one of the biggest battles, Allah told the Prophet, ask for their opinion again. So تخيلي أنتي, someone made a mistake and you saw they made a mistake, and then once again you ask for their opinion. So this teaches us that there's always something that we need to hear. There's always something that we don't actually know that we can learn from someone. Yes. Because they have a different brain print, they have a different environment they lived in, different parents, different country, different society, everything is different. So أكيد there's something they know that you don't know.
صح. Thank you so much نور اليوم للانترفيو, استمتعت فيها. Thank you for إن كان القصص أو حتى the information اليوم شاركنا فيها, statistics, كل شيء اللي شاركنا إياه. I'm very happy إن استضفتك اليوم بهذه الحلقة, and I hope قدرنا نوصل the communication من خلال هذه الحلقة. And thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Sarah. I'm happier. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.